Tennessee Republican Congressman Tim Burchett joins us now. Congressman, great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it. If Trump is charged, convicted, sentenced to jail, what do you think might happen?
I don't think there'll be riots. I think you'll have limited dissatisfaction with it, but I honestly don't see it. I think this country is, and I know the conservative movement is just really tired of burning the country down and seeing it burn down all over. We went through a summer of that with Black Lives Matters and then everything else. I just don't think it's going to happen. I think it's clickbait, and I think the American public knows better.
You think Trump should be making threats like that, saying it would be very dangerous if he ends up in jail?
Of course not. Of course not. That's just Trump being Trump, though. You know, he's got that New York bravado, and I guess you could make a career out of saying things you wish that he hadn't said, but it's just the reality of where we're at. And every time he says it, his numbers go up. So, it's not the way it is for me. I'll tell you that. If I was, East Tennessee better than most, my numbers would be declining right now.
Yeah, but why aren't more Republicans calling him out and saying, don't do that? I mean, the last time he was whipping things up like this, we had an attack on the Capitol. Shouldn't he just knock it off?
Yeah, I think that'd be the best solution for all of us, but that's not Trump, and you know it, and I know it. If he was quiet about it all, we wouldn't be talking about it, and his numbers wouldn't be going up again. And so it's just him being him. I wish the heck he wouldn't do it, and I wish when he said it, people wouldn't publicize it. So, but I didn't hear him say it. I don't know what context it was in. I assume I take you at your word, though. I really do. And honestly, I would have probably chosen my words a little different.
And as you know, we're expecting an indictment in this case any time now. That will be Trump's third. After the last one in the classified documents investigation, you called for the Justice Department to be defunded. Do you still feel that way?
Yeah.
Don't we need a Justice Department?
I think at certain levels we do. But I think what's happened, Jim, is, as you've seen, I mean, the Steele dossier, for instance, it wasn't documented or anything. And now we have these latest reports coming out showing over $10 million in payout bribery, if you will, to Hunter Biden and another Biden. And those two are technically not documented, but yet nobody seems to pay those any attention. But Trump was impeached with the last ones that weren't. So I think the Justice Department is kind of a pick and choose right now. And I think that's why when you see the in oversight committee, when most of the Democrats, instead of reviewing what was going on before you, those gentlemen that came forward, the whistleblowers, very bravely came forward. That's why the Democrats weren't attacking them, because they knew their credentials were impeccable, and they knew at least one of them was a Democrat. So, and that's why they chose to direct their distaste towards Trump, because it's good for the base. It sells memberships, but frankly, it doesn't do much for me.
And in your view, has Trump done anything wrong in either the classified documents case or his attempts to overturn the 2020 election?
Of course, I'm not a legal expert. I'm definitely not a lawyer. But from what I've seen, I mean, the circumstantial evidence, it's just that, circumstantial evidence. And again, the Steele dossier, unproven document, yet it was run. It was clearly politically motivated, and it was proven. And now we have informants coming forward telling us that these things that they accused Trump of are things that the Biden family was obviously guilty of. And now we're trying to find out if they even paid taxes on
circumstantial evidence.
Millions.
Yeah, but in the documents case, it isn't circumstantial evidence that he had the documents, and he was asked to give the documents back, and he refused to return the documents.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No,
I mean, he's admitted
correct it. You're correct there. I apologize there. No, I thought you
And
were
he did try
about
to overturn the election on January 6th.
Yeah, absolutely he should. Yeah, absolutely. I actually, I had discussions with leadership and others, and I've called for a different scenario for those type of documents. I don't think that they should ever leave the hands of the bureaucrats. I think they ought to be assigned to somebody. And then when they're finished reading them, as with me, when I go into the SCIF, I'm assigned a person. And, it's like I say, it's James Bond. You take your cell phone off, you take your Fitbit. I don't carry a Fitbit, but anything else, pager, whatever, anything electronic device you have, a watch, what have you, and you have to leave it outside. And literally there's somebody in there with those documents that watches you read over those documents. And I feel like that ought to be the way that they handle these things with the White House. They should never, because they just keep going back. They keep finding them. They found them back, Obama, and then Clinton, of course, and the Bushes have turned over documents after they've gotten out of office.
Sure. But other folks have had documents, but they've returned them. When they've been asked, they've returned them. Donald Trump refused to do that.
Again, yeah.
And I guess my point is, and where I'm going with this is that if he does these things, and most folks can agree that it was wrong for him to retain the documents, refuse to give them back. A lot of people believe it was wrong for him to try to overturn the election results when it was clear. Shouldn't he be punished for that? If he did bad things, shouldn't he be punished like anybody else?
I don't have a problem with saying that he shouldn't, but at what level is he? Was he doing it to disseminate those secret documents to foreign to our enemies, or what was he doing? What was the intent there? Was the intent just to be Trump and say, I'm not going to turn them back, you can't have them, kind of thing? And I mean, the whole thing was ridiculous. He should have returned them in the beginning.
But do you think he should be punished? I guess that
kept them.
What do you think?
I don't know at what level. I mean,
you're usually pretty good at giving a straight answer on this.
I don't see it as a major thing. If he disseminated the information to some of our enemies, throw the book at him, put him in jail, cuff him and stuff him. But if he just kept him there at his place, and we don't have any evidence that anybody else that could do us harm had saw him. And two, the reality is, Jim, once those documents are printed and they're out there, it's not very long. I mean, I've been in the SCIF and I've walked out and heard your colleagues from your state, from CNN, within 15 minutes talking about what was secret and what was discussed in the SCIF. Okay. And because I've been there and watched it, and I see that.
But let me ask you something else.
You have pretty good sources. You're playing yourself down, Jim. You're a pretty influential guy. You've got some pretty good sources.
But what about this talk about expunging the impeachments? You don't think that is that even possible? How would you do that?
I don't see that happening. That's another question. Speaker McCarthy, apparently, I saw the reports. I saw that.
Do you buy
that? ABC jumped on it. I don't. I've heard some of our members. I've heard Marjorie Taylor Greene and some of the other members are moving something forward. But legally, I don't know how you would do that. I've never heard of that even being a possibility. Now, I guess the legal minds will say, like, well, no, and it's I've heard the legal minds argue even over if a president can pardon himself. So I don't know what the scenario there would be. I think that's up to the constitutionalists, and I'm obviously not. I'm not very learned in the legal world, although I've spent most of my life passing laws.
Yeah,
a lot of times I have to ask the lawyers exactly what's going on with that. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
Quick final question. I want to talk about a hearing that the House Foreign Affairs Committee is holding this week about the existence of UFOs, or as they're now called, UAPs. I don't know why we renamed them, but now they're UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomenon. You said you're 100% sold on this.
Yes, sir. I am. I'm actually. It's actually oversight, not foreign affairs. But sorry to correct you. I know that's the wrong thing to do. But it's the 26th, this Wednesday at 10 o'clock, and we're having a full hearing. We've got 3 expert witnesses, pilots, military decorated folks that are going to come in and tell us. And some of this stuff, I'm not going to bring in a flying saucer and little green men, but I think it's important to show. And you in the media, I would hope you all would question us about transparency. It's over 60 years since the Kennedy assassination. Who in the world's even alive that was mentioned any of that stuff? I don't care about embarrassing the CIA or whoever. And in this case, the Pentagon has stonewalled us from day one. We've gone down to Florida, gone to see whatever we were supposed to see. We were turned away, and it's just a fist fight the whole way. I mean, from even having the the press conference, they tried to stick us in this little room, and the whole, and staff and everybody. I would hope you all would start looking at some of the congressional leaders who stonewall this, looking at their financial disclosures and asking them, say, why are these corporations contributing to you, and why are you trying to keep the truth away from the American public? I sell a T-shirt on my website. It says more people believe in UFOs than believe in Congress, and it's the truth. Over 57% of the population believes something else is out there.
All right. Well, it's hard to blame them. Congressman, thanks very much for your time.